Hi all, welcome to our Player of the Month for the MLS SBC guide. Now it seems like we're getting a Player of the Month for the MLS. This was found in the card database. Whether this is true or not, it's a different matter. But if this is the case, interesting to see implemented into the system. So let me know in the comments down below if this is something that excites you at all. And obviously some of these cards may not overly be appealing, which I can completely understand. But I thought we'll sit for bit of a breakdown on each of the players. I've decided to just do the SBC guide format just a little bit differently, but hopefully you still find this very useful. Now I'm focusing on four main players that, for what I've seen this month in the MLS for March, that stood out. Now Vela for me looks like a landslide winner. He played 5 games in March. He got 4 wins, and in that time he played for 5 of the games. Now, what makes him really stand out is he got 6 goals in the month. He bagged himself an inform, which put him to an 86 rated, and he got 3 assists. And I would quite honestly say that right away should kind of guarantee him the award without really breaking sweat. Now the biggest problem is it's only going to go to an 88 rated card. If I was brutally honest, I feel for Player of the Months, especially for like MLS for example, shouldn't really just be like to 2 informs. Like I know in some inform cases, like obviously like as you can see here with like Quintero and Ellis, it maybe isn't too bad. Maybe putting it to like a third inform, so that in the 84 cases it would go to an 86. Just especially at this stage of FIFA. I know this will keep content going, but at the same time it's a bit random that we're suddenly getting this when we could have had this like even last season. It wouldn't have been too bad at all having some of the potential cards that we could have had. But in terms of breaking each individual player down for prep, I know quite a few folk are investing heavily in MLS informs, but at the same time, as proven throughout so far, you don't necessarily need MLS informs. As long as you have, like say, a supply of informs, regardless of Premier League, MLM, Serie A, then you can kind of still work around it. It just comes down to, usually it will come down to the team in the league. As long as you've got a surplus of that, and even a nation of that player, sometimes never hurts. It then comes down to informs within the other like leagues that can link up quite easily. So obviously in Vela's case, because he's Mexican, you'd maybe look then at other informs that could link up to him a little bit easier. So you may suddenly then look at Liga MX. So you may suddenly look at like not like necessarily your Gignacs for example, but you'd look at informs that can instantly link up to him, and then other players within say Liga MX and MLS that build a hybrid, depending how it was to be built, because you could then, that's when you can possibly say go Gignac, Alessandrini, and then you could end up going French possibly. So you'd suddenly find you may end up buying Lagoon informs to suddenly supplement it, because if they suddenly made MLS informs a requirement, nobody's going to do this SBC. They know that's like there's no interest. Like an 88 rated card, yes, is very nice, or an 84 or an 86, but there'd be there'd genuinely be nobody would do it. Like the informs would be extinct. And you'd find other cards just as cheap, just as good, and it would be kind of pointless. But as I said, Vela's 6 goals, 3 assists for the month, but I would kind of highly doubt they would touch into Real Sociedad or Arsenal in Vela's case. But your kind of smart prep really is your MLS players, as long as you're covering rares, and then everyone that is minimum, I would say, rare gold, and then the respective teams. So you would obviously go LAFC, so you'd kind of just find Vela's base card will be pretty popular. Schweinsteiger, I will even admit David Villa and Giovinco, even though they no longer play in the league, people will still try and use those cards due to their ratings. But Joseph Martinez, even Almiron, will find people will use him up. Then you've got like Higuain, Tim Howard, but there's ample gold like Bradley, Alonso, Osvaldo Alonso, these type of players. There'll be players that you can easily just buy within the league and they'll be commonly used. Alessandrini is another one. With like Steffen, for example, the reason why I went with him as well is because I thought goalkeeper stand have stood out from him, and I think some people kind of touted him for a possible inform. I know I had him in my top possibles one of the weeks in March, but I was like, I took him out solely because I thought, well, there's other goalkeepers, and I thought saying that a second inform on him to an 84 would have been quite nice, and then if he was to suddenly get player of the month to an 87, then becomes a very impressive alternative to Tim Howard. But he's made 13 saves in the month, kept 3 clean sheets in the 3 games that he won. So while Vela is kind of seen as a landslide winner, it might not necessarily be a bad idea to totally knock the idea of Steffen, because at the end of the day, I've not completely read over all the notes for the player of the month for the MLS. I'm guessing it'll be down to the experts. The experts might suddenly go Steffen, but it's very difficult to see past Carlos Vela. With Quintero and Ellis, they've both had very good months for their respective teams starting off. Quintero's got 3 goals, 3 assists, and Ellis is 2 goals, 3 assists. Like other guys like Akam, Russell, I know some people might have said Rooney, but obviously, but then be wary. Diego Rossi, for example, you can't say him because obviously he is in April. Other good defenders that have been quite impressive, other players I've noticed doing quite well are like Mensah, Hamid, Brilliant, and Binbaum. There are others, but these were the main 4 that, for me, when I was digging through all the stats, these were the main 4 that stood out. Like I would imagine in Quintero's case, you may suddenly find like Colombian players proving quite popular. His own base card would be probably well used. Same with Ellis in that matter. And I think what they'll do is, when it's in the case of Vela, they may do 3 routes, maybe 4 at the most. But if it's 3 routes, they will go a rated squad, they'll go an MLS based squad, and then they may tap into Mexico, but not too heavy, or they'll tap into the team. Like 4 routes is fairly straightforward. There's nothing exact like strenuous. Like even for Ellis, Quintero, Steffen, I would imagine there would be 3 routes at the most. What I would imagine they will do for them would be like their nation, the league, and well, maybe not the nation in Ellis's case. It's a bit easier in Quintero's case, and in Steffen's case for that matter. But they would go. The most common thing will be, as I said, the nation. The league, and then a rated squad. They'll be as long as you're kind of fundamentally prepared for them. But we'll see how everything plays out. I honestly have no idea what to expect with this. This is like, I think for a lot of folk it's relatively new, which is quite interesting. But hopefully, as I've said throughout, if we get an idea of when the award is, like the breakdown for the nominees. But as I say, it's all in the system, so it must be. But saying that, we had that assumption with La Liga. I remember the vote was done the very first time, and we all assumed, oh great, player of the month, La Liga. So this is the first time for this. We'll see what happens over the next, say, week to 10 days. Because we would assume it might fall in the same window as EPL and Bundesliga player of the months, which are this Friday and following Friday. So we'll see what happens. This could be the cheaper little brother, as it were, of the player of the month SBCs, and it just gives us a bit of summer content as well when you kind of fundamentally think about it. Once the EPL and Bundesliga are kind of wrapped up at the for May, for April and May. But let me know down in the comments below. Apart from obviously Vela, who seems the landslide winner for March, who would you like to win the award? What kind of requirements would you like, apart from obviously the MLS and a rated squad? And I will obviously get a good idea and we'll see where it goes from there. So take it easy all, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all later.